Narativ is funded by viewers like you. Support our independent journalism at patreon.com/narrative. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Narrative Live. It's a Tuesday evening. It's 7 o'clock on the East Coast, 4 o'clock on the West Coast. And we're having a really interesting show tonight about Kyle Rittenhouse. We're going to explore who he is in terms of the shooting that happened in Kenosha, but also how he might be being used by the apparatus around Donald Trump and the GOP in order to fuel divisions in our country. And I want to welcome to our show tonight Don Lewis, who's been an advocate fighting to expose all of these things about Kyle Rittenhouse and particularly his lawyer. Don, welcome to the show.
How are you, Zef? And thanks for having me on.
I'm great, and thanks for coming on. It's terrific to have you on, and you've done some great work, as you'll find out throughout the hour. Nina Burleigh's here, and how are you, Nina?
I'm well, thanks. How are you, Zeb?
I'm really well. How's the middle of the country, as you pointed out? What did you call it? The rural Pennsylvania.
Well, it appears that internet's a bit slow up here tonight, and we had a weird power outage, clear day power outage yesterday, which had my heart stopped for just a second because I thought, our nuclear football is not in good hands right now, and I had a paranoid second, but it's an unexplained little power outage up in upstate New York. But other than that, all is good.
Well, it's good to know you've got power back, and it's good to know that we're not in the middle of a power grid attack. And LB's here. Good morning, LB. Good morning. I was going to say how great your thing was this morning on the Flyerside chat. But good evening, LB. How are you doing?
Good evening. I'm great. I'm happy to be here.
If you guys haven't checked out the Flyerside chats every morning now, really, I think that LB does. It's a stream of consciousness unlike any other you'll ever hear, and well worth everybody's time. And today's was particularly good. What time do you do that, by the way?
I do it. I really do truly wake up and turn on the thing, and I go. So I'm normally up around, I'm freezing.
It happens.
I'm normally up around, it happens. Yeah. I like the finger there. That's pretty good. Usually about 5 o'clock, because I do like to have my coffee, a little bit of coffee. But if I pay attention to the news or I look too much on Twitter or I do anything like that, I lose my thoughts.
So it really is your first thoughts in the morning. It must be very revealing and healing to go through that. You underlined to me tonight that we should absolutely cover the cabinet appointments or to-be cabinet appointments of President-elect Biden for his national security positions. And it is big news, but it's big news because it's not really that exciting news.
It's normal.
It's kind of just normal, traditional stuff that's been going on. It's not. It's like the kind of politics you get in Canada. It's interesting, but it's not something you have to focus on 24/7 like you might have had to do in the Trump administration. But we should say these guys are particularly skilled cabinet secretaries. Do you have anything you want to say about them, or? Not
really. I have like a weird thing to share about it. In that and I've lost it on my phone, but there was a very short thread written by someone, and I will pin it. And if my phone unfreezes and my thing unfreezes, I'm having internet trouble, guys. Sorry. I will remind everyone. I'll post it. But it's a historical story about Blinken's stepfather and how he was rescued and who rescued him from the Nazi camps. And it's beautifully told. And we do need these stories. These are the heart stories that always come out around people and around cabinet appointments. But it does help you kind of say, okay, I'm getting a sense of the paradigm that this person is coming from and perhaps what their focus may be. Or it's just propaganda. I don't know. But it was
Blinken's grandparents, or
I think his father, became his stepfather. Yeah.
I mean, he has a long history, and his family has a big history in terms of World War II, and playing. I think was his father the ambassador to the United Nations, or I can't remember.
To Hungary.
Okay.
Hungary. There you go.
I see. And then I'm really excited about Avril Haines taking over DNI because I like intelligence actually, being watched over carefully versus being watched over by the Russians. So that's going to be good. And the first,
President Lincoln is also a good touch point because didn't Donald Trump say that he's been the best president for Black Americans since Abraham Lincoln?
I believe he did. I believe he's compared.
I think that was one of his many insanely false and actually offensive claims, but I'm pretty sure he said that.
I mean, what are we going to do? It's going to be so dull and boring in the next administration. What are we going to do?
We're going to go to sleep.
It's like going to a spa.
Yeah. I mean, it'll be nice for a couple of days, but after 4 days, you're going to be like, I need something. I need some.
Yeah, no more.
Well, you know what it's similar to? It's similar to. I've lived in New York my entire life, and I've, other than school, and I once went to St. Thomas. One of my best friends from law school grew up in St. Thomas, and I went there for a week or two, and I absolutely loved it. It was so serene. And when I got back, I was talking to my Australian roommate, and I said, I could live there. It's so amazing. And he went into his deep Aussie accent, which I can't do. And he said, no, you couldn't. You lived in New York whole life and you're crazy. And when month of having nothing to do, you would lose your mind and be kind of nuts. And it's kind of like the same effect as what we've been under, with this Trump administration. It's like PTSD to a degree.
I think so. It'll be, I don't know how I'll cope, but I'll do my best. Anyhow, let's move on to Kyle Rittenhouse, because those are great people, and I'm sure they'll do great work in their various cabinet positions. But, it was only August 26th this year when Kyle Rittenhouse went from sort of a typical maybe to maybe not so typical Illinois high school student to being a somewhat of a national figure. That's when he gunned down 3 people, killing 2 of them in Kenosha, Wisconsin, which is where they were having those riots in response to Jacob Blake. The shooting captured everyone's attention, and he became a national sensation. And he also got $2 million in a bail. At least that was the bail amount that they wanted. And that $2 million was paid off last week. And we were all surprised by the fact that it was paid off by, a group of people that included Ricky Schroeder, the My Pillow guy, and also some church, Indigo kind of funding thing that they do. I can't remember the name, but I'll show it to you in a second. But, $2 million is a lot of money. But why we're mostly fascinated, at least from our perspective, about Kyle Rittenhouse is he also happens to share the same legal team as Donald Trump, or pretty much share the same legal team as Donald Trump. And the other one of his lawyers is a good friend of Rudy Giuliani. So we'll find out all about that today. But I want to get Don's reaction to the bail hearing specifically, and then we'll start the timeline and go back to where the story began in Kenosha.
One of the big questions I see going around on social media is how did they come up with the $2 million? Who would have put in the $2 million? I mean, it was pretty obvious from the outset what happened here. The lawyers involved, who you've mentioned, who are also tied to Trump, started a foundation, which I believe was actually formed in June or July, called the Fight Back Foundation, which was to fight the lies of the radical left or something like that. So the Rittenhouse shooting happens, and then John Pierce, who's one of the lawyers, if you look at his Twitter, he immediately solicited the representation. He said, somebody get me to this family. He got involved, and what they immediately started doing was fundraising through the foundation. And one of the causes was to, help with the Kyle Rittenhouse trial. So when people wonder, where did that $2 million come from? How did they pay it? There's been an organization run by these lawyers since August. It was founded earlier. They started raising for Rittenhouse and other things on August 26th. That's been raising money. However, they raised money primarily, at least that I've seen, is they're very active on social media, whipping people up and trying to have the money come in. And one of the interesting things about the fundraise is that the Fight Back Foundation had disclosed on, I believe, September 29th that they'd already raised $2.1 million. They also, I believe, disclosed that they'd taken $500,000 from another fund, so that's $2.6 million. At that point, they stopped disclosing the dollar amounts publicly. They said more than 2.1. So from September 29 until he was bailed out, roughly, mid-November, how much more money was raised? What did it go to? And, a lot of people have asked, why did it take so long to get him out if all that money had come in? But the short answer is to the money is the lawyers started this foundation to fight the radical left. And they've been raising money, and all the way back on September 29, it was, I believe, 2.6 million, and they finally came forward and bailed them out. So that's where the money came from, and a number of people are unclear on that point.
So this picture here, this is Kyle in the middle here, and then you've got on the left side, this is Pierce, John Pierce, his lawyer, right? Is that correct?
That's correct.
And you know John Pierce because.
So I know John Pierce. We actually went to law school together, class of 2000, and then I worked at his law firm for a bit in 2018. I'm in adverse circumstances with them. That I won't get into detail here because it's ongoing litigation. But the main issue is that Pierce's law firm has tremendous issues. Just give a couple of quick data points. They started getting a litigation funder. It's basically an entity that gives money to law firms to pursue litigation. That started giving them money on April 2019. By April 2020, there were reports that funder was owed $65 million. During that year, this was a litigation firm. They didn't win a single trial. Right? They had a $50 million lawsuit against Hillary Clinton by Tulsi Gabbard, lost. They had a $50 million lawsuit, I think, against Google, I think it was, for Tulsi Gabbard. It was lost. They had a $50 million lawsuit for a Russian oligarch. That was lost, and it's under appeal.
Which one?
And it was just a consistent, losing of cases. The other data points are that you have the $65 million owed to this litigation funder named Viraj Capital Management. On top of that, since the year 2020, Pierce's firm has been sued by, and he changed the name of the firms, but that's still a technicality. But the firm has been sued by 5 vendors of legal services. 2 of them say that they were not paid, hundreds of thousands of dollars since 2018. They've been sued by 4 cash advance lenders. The cash advance lenders, the main funder, Viraj, has come forward in those cases and asserted priority interests, which basically means in order to get the Viraj money, Pierce Bainbridge pledged certain collateral, which were allegedly or purported future firm receivables. Then Pierce and/or the firm went to 4 other entities, got money off the same receivable, and paid. So there's 5 vendor lawsuits, 4 cash advance lawsuits. I have lawsuits, someone else has lawsuits. But then on top of that, John Pierce had in his marital proceedings where the documents are public. As of November 2019, he filed an income and expense statement. According to the income and expense statement that he prepared in November 2019, he owed over $1 million in taxes. He owed Citibank $90,000. He owed his ex-wife's mother $27,000. So you were looking at a person who's under severe professional and personal financial duress. The Rittenhouse case pops up. He, according to his own tweets, looks like he chased it down. That's people have said have chased the representation, and then immediately gets online. If you go through his Twitter page, and is riling people up and pushing hard for these funds to come in. So there's been some questions raised about what exactly is actually going on with the money, because you have a person who the initial law firm was Pierce Bainbridge Beck Price and Hecht. On May 20th, Pierce changed the name to Pierce Bainbridge PC. And then he's going around saying that because it's a new name, Pierce Bainbridge PC, his law firm doesn't have any debt. Although, his prior law firm had a reported $70 million debt amassed in 1 year when they didn't win a single case.
So he's got some financial issues, and now he's doing this fundraising. I wanted you to answer LB's question there about which Russian oligarch. I think you were asking, LB. Is that what you were asking about?
Yeah.
Which Russian oligarch are we talking about?
There's a Russian oligarch that's connected to Pierce. His name is Sergei Grishin. The connection really is, and that's as far as it'll go, is Pierce. Just to give you more on Pierce, Pierce was at another law firm named K&L Gates in 2016. According to a sworn declaration his wife put in their proceedings, Pierce was dismissed from the K&L Gates law firm because he physically assaulted another coworker, which other people have confirmed for me. In between that and Pierce Bainbridge, which he started in 2017, which is a little known fact, Pierce was in-house counsel for Sergei Grishin Venture Capital Fund. All right. So then 2017 or so, Pierce starts his firm, Pierce Bainbridge, which again, now you have a $70 million debt, all this money from funders, talking about all this great litigation, a SEAL Team 6, we're going to win every case. In 3+ years, that firm won one trial, and it's a litigation like specialized firm with a net verdict of $500,000. And it was a case about mom and pop ice cream sandwiches. Other than that, there was no successful trials. Now,
but he was an in-house counsel for this for Sergey.
According to an article in Bloomberg,
wow.
Yeah, there's an article in Bloomberg that says for the Grisham Venture Capital Fund, which eventually changed names, between 2016 and 2017, Pierce was the in-house counsel. The relationship continues when, I believe in September 2018, Grisham hired the firm Pierce Bainbridge to be his counsel in ongoing litigation. And then Pierce Bainbridge was counsel for Grisham until maybe mid this year. By mid this year, Pierce Bainbridge had completely, went from about 70 attorneys in September 2019 to about 5 by May 2020. Partners fled to a bunch of other firms, or they started their own firms. And Grisham now is represented by another firm named Withers Bergman, which there's another partner from Pierce Bainbridge named Aman Khan. Aman was the Los Angeles office managing partner. Grisham is now at Withers Bergman or Withers Worldwide with Aman Khan.
LB, does that name ring a bell to you?
It does not off the top of my head, but that's okay.
Yeah. Well, there's lots of Russians and there's Russian oligarchs and they need lawyers. So there's nothing necessarily untoward going on there. But that night when
his sector, can I ask real quick, what's he an oligarch of? Is it materials?
I didn't report he's an oligarch. I don't know a ton about his business.
Okay. So here's the tweet that was put out by Pierce on the night, asking basically for someone to get Kyle Rittenhouse to contact him because he was going to bring, he'll fly up there tonight and I will handle this defense with a team of the best lawyers in the United States, or so he claimed. And in fact, he's a big shot to go and get a client like Rittenhouse. This is not the kind of stuff he normally does. This is out of the ordinary for John Pierce. Is that correct?
Oh, yeah, this is definitely out of the ordinary. A huge threshold point is that Kyle Rittenhouse is facing charges for double murder, right? John Pierce is a civil lawyer. Right. To my knowledge, he's never done a criminal case, period. He's never done a murder trial. And actually, there was an article in the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel where he was asked about this, and his response was something along the lines of, it doesn't matter if I'm a specialist in this, I just win cases. And, based on the track record of his firm for 3 years, that doesn't really seem to be a completely honest statement. The threshold point that should resonate with everybody is John Pierce is a civil litigator, right? He is not a criminal lawyer. And you're not talking any criminal cases anybody could surmise. You're talking a double murder.
I just looked up Sergey Grisham, and this probably will ring a bell with you, LB. It says he's was the president, chairman of Ross Evro Group, co-owned the Ross Evro Bank, a.k.a. the laundromat, and has claimed that he practically brought the Russian banking system to collapse in the 1990s. I assume you know who this guy
I have
is.
to look at the spelling. Yeah, I got to look at the spelling. Let me look at the spelling.
Oh, so it's a little Russian laundramat that he was in-house counsel for. Okay.
Russian American billionaire.
Was Evro Bank was a bank he owned in Russia, and the venture capital fund was here. And I will say, that he has taken a strong position. That those articles are not true. So you can take what you want with that, but he's taking a pretty strong position that those articles. Yeah,
they always say that. Then I go find their money in the offshore laundromat, like whatever.
So this guy's an interesting lawyer to choose for Rittenhouse to choose as his defense lawyer, and the other guy that is defending him is another Trump lawyer. This is what's the guy's name? Lynn, I think is his last name.
Lynn Wood.
You want to just go Pierce really more quickly to just try to Trump thing to Pierce. So Pierce starts this basically basically, I worked there, you can call it like a fly-by-night law firm that's winning nothing. Another interesting fact that tied to Trump is, law firm that ran up a reported $70 million debt, only had a $500,000, verdict when it was a net. During the course of Pierce's time there, Rudy Giuliani became a client. Mark Lucchese, who Yahoo has represented as the lawyer at the center of Trump's universe, was a lawyer, actually in my cases, but to Mark Lucchese, he quit citing ethical concerns with continued representation. One of the things I always say colorfully, which is true, and I think anybody, regardless of political leanings, would agree with this, if somebody who's very close to Team Trump is quitting for ethical reasons, it must be pretty bad. On top of that, they represented George Papadopoulos. Oh, wow. They've represented Carter Page.
Carter Page.
The Democratic National Committee for Tulsi Gabbard. They sued Hillary Clinton for Tulsi Gabbard. So if Pierce is not the name player that Linwood is, who you're going to get into. Linwood is kind of a known entity. Most people didn't know Pierce.
I'm looking at that right now. I'm looking at Wood right now.
Right, but that's just like, that is a background that's worth having in this conversation, right? That it's a lot of GOP ties and a lot of big cases for a firm that really was having no level of success. And one other interesting data point I'll put out is that not only were these people hiring the firm, but they were promoting the firm. Like when Giuliani hired Pierce Bainbridge, he tweeted about it. When George Papadopoulos hired Pierce Bainbridge, he tweeted about it. Harmeet Dillon, which name you may not know, is a lawyer in California who's she was on something called the co-chair of Women for Trump. There was a big fundraiser for Trump in September 2019 in San Francisco. She was heavily involved. Harmeet Dillon tweeted about doing stuff with Pierce Bainbridge. So the one thing I take from all of those tweets is like, I don't know in what universe, in Rudy Giuliani's day, whatever people think about him and what's going on now, that he's taking time out to go to his computer and tweet about the law firm he retained. It's just not a normal thing, at least in my opinion.
No, not at all.
Well, doesn't this what it reminds me of is Bannon and his wall. The Wall Fund,
right? Yeah, that's.
Isn't it? It could be ideological, or it could be just with these guys. It could be just straight up money. It's the audacity of greed. That's the audacity of greed.
Absolutely.
I think, and one thing I'll say too is if you take a read through, just let them speak for themselves. If you take a read through Pierce's posts on Twitter, you take a look through the others associated with this post on Twitter. It's pretty interesting, the stuff they're putting out, to speak to your point. The one other thing about, just to go further with the GOP ties is, so the Fight Back Foundation was, to raise money to go after the radical left, raise money for Rittenhouse. At some point, a few days before the extradition hearing, they had what they deemed a low country fundraiser. And that was in Atlanta, I believe. And it was a fundraiser that the Fight Back Foundation threw to raise money for Doug Collins in his senatorial campaign down there. Oh. Doug Collins has a separate picture called the Collins Crew, who's supporting him. And the Collins Crew is Papadopoulos is in the picture, Carter Page is in the picture.
Oh, yeah, I know this picture.
Wow.
I've tweeted this out.
And then just to give you more for the ties and the close to Giuliani, when they started the Fight Back Foundation, Pierce was announced as being on the board, right? The Daily Beast, it was Will Summer, did a very solid article which exposed a lot of these financial things I mentioned. Pierce was forced to step down, or he stepped down, I don't know forced, but he stepped down. So his place was off the board. You know who came in and replaced Pierce on the board, or the new person on the board? I don't know if it's considered a replacement. Pierce was out. The new person who's in is Bernie Kerik.
Oh.
And Bernie Kerik, for people who don't know, is close to Rudy Giuliani since, way back when in New York in like
Bernie
1995.
Kerik is a gangster and a fraud. Yeah. He's a gangster and a fraud.
Right.
Yeah. And he was
and he's sidekick and Giuliani's sidekick for a long time. So,
he's the last person for the Collins Crew, just so people know, because that's cachet, is, even though he's not in the Collins Crew, about the same time that Low Country fundraiser and all those people, Roger Stone announced publicly that he was going to be helping Collins' campaign for the seat.
So it's the usual crew of Russian and other allied operatives here that like to mess up elections and get people like Donald Trump elected. We have
a name for them, remember?
What do we call those guys? You called them something really special.
I call them the fuckaloos.
The fuckaloos.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's like the boogaboo boys, but they're the fuckaloos.
Right.
Yeah.
They're also the fucketeers for a little bit here.
Well, no, the fucketeers are something else. The fucketeers are the Manafortes and the guys with all the money, all for none and none for all. The fuckaloos are the propagandists and this sort of subterranean network of operatives, right, that rely on the fucketeers to give them money and the oligarchs to give them money, and there's a lot of very strange and odd intelligence in there, but they're really about doing the Twitter, doing the Breitbart, doing the Instagram, running the propaganda machine. And they're looking for these culture warriors and culture martyrs, like the Covington Catholic kid and like Kyle Rittenhouse. So they wait for these things
and I think
bubble up, and then they jump on it and they weaponize it and they turn it into their shit that they can make money off of and grift off of, but also keep the machine going.
Narativ is funded by viewers like you. Support our independent journalism at patreon.com/Narativ.